Mihoromoni isaranon. I am so glad you can make it back for another lesson on Tsevhu. Do you like my little koi fish swim cycle? It's not as intuitive as it looks, so I'll have to keep practicing on it. We've talked previously in one of my other videos about some of the grammatical positions that are encoded on a koi fish, but I want to go over them in a bit more detail. To do that, it'll be helpful to briefly cover some basic linguistic terms and what they mean practically. Tsevhu deals a lot with three broad parts of speech: verbs, nouns, and modifiers. We'll go over each of these in more detail. Starting with verbs, first I want to ask the question of what kind of information a verb could carry. In linguistics, there's an acronym called TAM. Each verb can have information encoded upon it about its tense, aspect, or mood. And these three make up the acronym TAM. Tense describes when an action happens. It's usually descriptive of a present, past, or future event, but languages will sometimes favor some tenses more than others. There also can be a marker for when there isn't a definite tense, or for instances where it doesn't make sense for a specific tense to apply to a statement. Aspect is very similar to tense, and many languages have it so they're tied together into one system. We can say that aspect loosely describes how an action happens, especially over time. It describes things like the beginning or end of actions, the number of occurrences, or the length the actions last. Mood, on the other hand, is used to express how the speaker feels about the event. Things like desire, confidence and accuracy, source of information, or requests for more. So what does our koi fish say when it comes to TAM? The fish itself can inform you of all tenses and of three basic moods. All other grammar is accomplished using either ripple position relative to the fish or phrasal constructions. Tense is shown by the direction the koi swims, meaning it's shown radially. There are 8 different tenses for the koi to swim towards. Here, have a fish. Swimming down is kind of the default. It means it's present tense. Going counterclockwise from there is near future, which is in the future somewhere from tomorrow to a month. But it is quite variable, so it could potentially even be a few minutes from now. After that is medial future, which extends past a month or so all the way up until the end of your life. Far future comes next, which is time after you're already dead and gone. Our next tense is non-finite. This is the tense that we talked about earlier, where time doesn't exactly apply. In Tsevhu, it often means something that is always true or always happening. After that is far past, which is time before you were born. Medial past is within your lifetime, all the way up until about a month or so into your past. Similar to near future, near past is more recent. It ranges from somewhere around a month ago to about yesterday, but it's also variable. Since there are 8 tenses, we can actually refer to them as the cardinal directions on a compass. Having tense set up like this is actually really cool because it determines the direction of reading according to the flow of fish. Therefore, if the tense changes in a paragraph, that means that the flow of fish will change direction on the page. That can get a little annoying sometimes, in cases where you want the fish to be oriented in a certain direction. I, and a couple people in the Tsevhu community, had a somewhat recent idea to address this issue. If we use scales in aquatic plants to show the relative north of individual clauses and groups of clauses respectively, it allows writers to orient the fish in their desired direction. We're still rather in the testing phase of this idea, but I think it works well, especially in cases where the fish is written flat on a physical surface, where it wouldn't be easy to tell which way is north. It also opens up the possibility of different mediums, like circular paper or clay and resin ponds. Now that we've covered the tenses, we can talk about the 3 basic moods encoded onto a koi. Those moods are indicative, also called declarative, imperative, and interrogative. In other words, this is basic statements, commands, and questions. Koi fish show these by the direction the tail is pointing. It's dependent on the perspective of the fish though, meaning it's the fish's right or left rather than the writer's. We'll use the sailing terms starboard and port to describe it. A straight tail is indicative A starboard tail is imperative, and a port tail is interrogative. Other moods are done using modifiers on the verb, and we'll talk about how to do that a little bit later. And with that, we've also covered the 3 basic moods on the koi. Before we get into ripple slots, I want to talk a little bit about the 2 different types of fish. Large koi fish are main clauses, also known as independent clauses, or clauses that are grammatically correct to stand on their own. Small koi fish are subordinate clauses, also known as dependent clauses, or clauses that need an independent clause to function. This typically means it has a verb, but isn't a complete thought. Subordinate fish actually have a different meaning for their tail directions. Instead of indicative, imperative, and interrogative, they have different clause types. Straight tails are nominal clauses, or clauses that can act like nouns in a sentence. They're fairly easy to identify because you can replace the whole clause with a pronoun like this or that. Starboard tails are relative clauses, or clauses that can act like adjectives in a sentence. They'll provide identifying information about a certain noun. Port tails are adverbial clauses, or clauses that can act like adverbs in a sentence. They often describe the manner or reason a verb is accomplished. This is useful information and all, but actually, what is a clause? It's easy to sometimes get clauses mixed up with the term phrases. Clauses often get confused with phrases because they do just about the same thing. They provide additional information about the main topic. This information can be about a specific word, usually a noun or verb. If we look at the definition of both, textbooks usually give something like phrases being a group of words that can act as another part of speech. They can contain either a subject or a verb, but not both, and don't convey a complete line of thought. They often do not have verbs and cannot stand alone. Clauses, on the other hand, are also a group of words that can act as another part of speech. They contain both a subject and a verb, and can convey a complete thought, but not always. They have a verb and can sometimes stand on their own. If you have a basic sentence, then actually you have a clause. As you can see, there is some overlap between phrases and clauses, so sometimes you'll get things like adverb clauses and gerund phrases, or infinitive clauses and infinitive phrases looking incredibly alike. We'll actually simplify this a bit for the purposes of Tsevhu and define them in a more clear-cut way, even if it doesn't quite match up with the way linguistics typically does. For Tsevhu, as a general rule of thumb, clauses have a verb, phrases do not. And, in Tsevhu, if there's a clause, then there's a fish, so chances are, if there's a verb, then there's a fish. If you have multiple verbs in a sentence, chances are very high that you have multiple clauses, especially if those verbs have objects. As you practice writing Tsevhu, over time it'll get easier for you to identify clauses and clause types. Other than the difference in meaning and tail direction, subordinate fish function much like main fish in how they encode information. That means the way they show tense and the ripple slot placement is the same. I know I mentioned earlier about going over the ripple slots, but I think it'd be better to break this video into 2. We've covered quite a few complex topics: tense, basic aspects and moods, and a bit on how clauses work. And these are all about how grammar is encoded using a koi fish, so our next video will be about how grammar is encoded using ripple slots. Thanks so much again for watching. I hope to see you next time.